Today I got you the best rank play meta class setups that you should be using if you want to rank up. The first weapon I want to go over, this is a very underrated weapon that actually just got a buff. They increased the overall damage range of the weapon, and so now the BAS-P is actually one of the meta weapons. I was popping off with it, like this thing is very fun to use. So this thing basically has the same meta attachments that you kind of run on every single build. For the muzzle, we got the flash hider, which is going to eliminate the horizontal recoil on the weapon, although you don't get that much vertical recoil. So if you're using this weapon and you notice yourself missing a lot of shots, then I do recommend you guys to swap out the spiral flash hider for the broom pendulum. This is going to give you way more recoil control. By the way, do you want that Orion camo but you're just a little bit too busy to grind through all 2,000 camos? If so, you should definitely check out Guapci. Guapci provides weapon leveling services, camo unlock services, challenge unlock services such as the Warzone Nuke, and many more for all the platforms. What you guys can also do is swap out the Shark Fin 90, which this Shark Fin 90 adds a lot of aiming stability, eliminates all the sway on the weapon, so then you have more predictable recoil, although this isn't really helping with the recoil control. So if you want a little bit more help, try out the Phase 3 grip. And then for the rear grip, obviously we are running the Bruin Flash grip for a little bit of a mobility increase, and same reasons go for the Bruin Flash stock, and I believe this is actually Shotzi's BAS-P class. And then for the secondary, I am going to be running a knife on every single build. The only time I run a pistol is on the sniper build, so if you do want the pistol class, that is going to be on the sniper set of things. And for everything else on here, I basically run the same thing, although if I am running an SMG, I am going to be running a dead silence so I can be very annoying in the enemy's face, make it so they can't really push the objective. But say I'm being like a hill simp where I'm just staying on the hill, then I'm probably going to be running the trophy system, or if I'm using like an SR rifle, then I'll use the trophy. Overall though, for the SMGs, run the dead silence. This next build is going to be on the Vel 46. We all know the MP7. This is one of the best weapons you can use in ranked play. This competes with the VAZNEV, which the VAZNEV is still on top, but this thing has a little bit more mobility, so if you are a very aggressive player, you are going to love this build. Keep in mind though, Shotzi's build is very hard to use because he's just overall very good at the game, so he can maximize the mobility and still be able to hit his shots. But if you're a little bit newer, this build is going to be very hard to use because the only recoil control is with the Edge 47. For the stock, we got the Demo RTX for more mobility, we got the Skalager Soldier Grip for more mobility, and then we got the 30 round mag for more mobility, which this doesn't really hurt the weapon at all. Always run the 30 round mag. But if you want a build that is a little bit easier to use, and honestly I like this build a little bit more, this is basically the same thing, but we are going to be running the Tango barrel, which is going to severely increase that damage range, and so now this thing is going to feel way stronger. And then for the stock, we are running the Assault 60 stock for that recoil control, because for the underbarrel we are running the Bruin Sync Shot, which doesn't give us any recoil control, but it adds a lot of stability, making the weapon very stable, leading to more predictable recoil. So I guess it kind of does help the recoil. And then for the rear grip and the magazine, we got these same things, and then I'm running the same perks and everything on this build. This next build I want to go over is going to be the TAC 56, which is the best AR to be using in ranked play. This is because there is no recoil, very fast time to kill. Just make sure you hit all these shots in the center of the chest on the enemy. When you start to land some arm or leg shots, that's when the weapon is going to feel very weak, and so just keep that in mind. Make sure you hit the chest on the enemy. This first build is going to be a very aggressive build, which there's two more builds for this weapon. For this one, I usually just use it on like Mercado or Hotel, just like the very tiny maps. If I'm on like El Asilo, I'll use the long range setup, which I'll show you in a second. But basically for every single TAC build, make sure you run the Tundra Pro barrel. Everyone runs this barrel. So then for the long range setup, I would build it just like this. You guys got two different options. You can take off the high velocity, or you can take off the demo clean shot grip. Previously I was taking off the clean shot grip, and then I would go over here and I would add the FJX Fulcrum Pro. The muzzles, they all kind of do the same thing. It doesn't really matter overall, though I see most people running the Fulcrum Pro. And so now you are going to have still a lot of mobility, and then you're going to have a lot of recoil control. So for the high velocity, the only thing that the high velocity does is improve the hit registration on the weapon, basically giving a better netcode on the game, which is the responsiveness of your bullets on the enemy. You know, when you're running running around a corner and then you will die, but then you're already around the corner, that is because of a poor netcode. This high velocity is going to make your weapon register better on the enemies, although there isn't really much proof backing this up. It's just every pro player runs in. So that's why I say if you don't notice a difference with the high velocity, it will be way more beneficial to run the clean shot grip to get a little bit more sprint to fire speed. With all that said though, for the long range setup, which I use this one on like Embassy or El Asilo, you basically want to swap out the muzzle for the Kamado Heavy, which this is going to eliminate all the horizontal recoil on the weapon. You still are going to have a lot of vertical on the weapon, but it is controllable, and so as long as you practice, you should be able to control that vertical, and then this is going to eliminate all the horizontal, which will be very noticeable at those long distance engagements. And then you want to swap out the underbarrel for the Commando foregrip or the Edge 47, and then you guys got to pick between these two things. For me, I prefer to take off the stock. If you want, you can take off the clean shot grip. Overall, I think the clean shot is a little bit more important because this is going to give you that sprint to fire speed, so if someone does rush you, you can shoot your weapon a little bit quicker. And so for me, usually for the no recoil setup, I'll take off the cardinal stock and then I'll add the high velocity just to make the weapon feel a little bit more responsive. So with all that said, that is going to wrap it up for the loadout on the weapon. If you're curious of the other things that I'm running, just the same perks, field upgrade, trophy system, because I'm sitting back. This next weapon I want to go over is going to be the SPX, which in my opinion is the best sniper in the game, and even if you're not a sniper, I still recommend saving this blueprint just in case. So regular public matches, you usually want to build the gun for like a maximization of the ADS speed, but in ranked play, you're not going to be quick scoping as much, so you need to have a good damage range, a lot of stability, a good registration, like a good hit registration, and so that's why we got the high velocity on here. We got the max DMR precision as the stock to get a lot of stability and ADS speed. For the rear grip, we are running the Skalager match grip, which is going to increase the mobility, although if you want, you can try out the Bruin Lynx grip. This might even be a little bit better. It's just for me, I prefer the Skalager, but this Bruin is going to add a lot of flinch resistance, so when the enemy does shoot at you, your screen isn't going to shake nearly as much. And then lastly, just add the FSS bolt, which is going to increase that rechambering speed, so if you need to pop off that second shot, you should be able to do so a little bit quicker. And for this class, I do run the X12 as my secondary because you can't really rely on a quick scope, which the secondary you want to use is the X12. The two most popular attachments on this build is going to be the lightning fire trigger, just so you can fire a little bit quicker, and then the Cronin Ligma 6, which is going to make it so you can pull out the pistol a little bit quicker. For me, because I'm pretty aggressive and I just love mobility, I'm going to be adding the XRK barrel, which does just that. And then for the rest of the class, I'm just kind of running the same thing as usual. This last build I want to go over is going to be the VAZNEV, which is the best SMG in ranked play. If you're trying to use the meta stuff, this is the setup you want to use. Although because this is a pro player setup, there is going to be a lot of mobility, not the most amount of recoil control, so you might be using this and you're like, damn, I can't really hit my shots. Then I would swap out the Spiral Flash Hider, which people run this because it eliminates the horizontal. The vertical is pretty easy to control, but if you want the weapon to feel a little bit better, like recoil control wise, run the Bruin Pendulum. This was the previous meta setup and this thing has absolutely no recoil. But say you still are struggling a little bit with the weapon, feel free to swap out the Shark Fin 90 for the Commando. Then you're going to have a little bit more recoil control with still having a pretty good amount of mobility. And then for the True Tac, for the rear grip, we are running the True Tac for more mobility. And for the stock, previously people did run the broadside, but this did get nerfed, and so you don't get as many pros, and then you still have a lot of cons, and so more people are running the Ultra Zet. So there is one more setup for this weapon. It's exactly the same as this, but you want to add one attachment. Sometimes when you're using this weapon, if you don't hit all 3 shots on the center chest of the enemy, like say you hit the arm or the leg or the lower torso, the gun is going to feel like a pea shooter, or if you have to use it at medium range, the gun is going to feel very weak. And so I know a lot of players love to run a barrel on the weapon, and the barrel I recommend is going to be the KASTOV barrel, which is going to increase the overall damage output of the weapon, although it is going to be hurting the mobility a lot, which is why myself and other pro players do not run it. Most people who just start using the VAZNEV, or if they're in like the lower ranks, they will typically be running the KASTOV barrel. Then once they get a little bit better, they'll take the barrel off and take advantage of the high mobility. So with all that said, that is going to wrap it up for the main class setups. So I do have 2 more I want to show you guys very quickly. Before that, try to set up your weapons like have a dead silence class and a trophy system class. I got the tac dead silence, and then I got a tac trophy, and my water bottle just was crunched up and then it popped and I thought there was a gunshot. That was so scary. When you set up your classes like this, it allows you to switch your things mid-match very quickly. A lot of people like lunchtime do the same thing, but then they have one with the Semtex and one with a frag grenade, and it actually does save you a lot of time. But like I was saying, for the 2 weapons I want you guys to try out, this is going to be a keyboard and mouse weapon, the KASTOV 545. This is a very low recoil, high mobility AER. So many people on keyboard and mouse like it. Basically the same thing as the tac, but it's going to be on the KASTOV 545. For the stock, we are running the KASTOV Rama just to increase the mobility a little bit without really hurting the weapon. We got the true tag grip for a little bit more sprint to fire speed. Got the high velocity for a better hit registration. Again, if you want more recoil control, try out the Commando foregrip or the Edge 47. And then for the muzzle, we got the FJX Fulcrum Pro just to make the weapon a little bit more stable. For the last weapon I wanted to show you guys, this is going to be the the MP5. I don't know what I'm saying. This weapon is actually the fastest killing weapon in the game, but that has the least amount of damage range, and so you do have to be really in the enemy's face to use it. Very similar to the previous build, but we are running the Falcon Barrel because it recently got a mobility nerf, and so that's going to bring that back up. We got the mobile stock for a little bit more mobility. We got the Cronus grip just so there's a little bit less flinch when the enemies are shooting at us, making it easier to hit our shots. And then we got the phase 3 grip for the under barrel. If you want a little bit more mobility, feel free to run the Shark Fin 90. And then for the muzzle, we got the Spiral Flash Hider to eliminate the vertical recoil on the weapon. Another very good build for this weapon. I saw Scumman using this, and he's one of the top ranked players in the game. Basically the same thing, but he's not running a barrel or the stock, and then he's swapping out the underbarrel for the Shark Fin 90. And so this is another very good build, but I think that is going to wrap it up, and so I hope this was helpful, and deuces.